Happy to have Dave Seaman, Standard Speaker Sports Editor, with us. I'm Ken Kara, SSPTV Sports Director. It's a Dave Day, and Dave, it's been a while. We were busy as we ended the local sports season with the Hazelton Area High School baseball team and everything like that. But not too long ago, Dave, it was the 50th anniversary of Title IX. And just before that, I thought it was so cool. I was at the Standard Speaker Athlete of the Week Awards, and Alveda Gemski got the Bill Crooks Memorial Award, and she was a former Crestwood field hockey coach. Dave, I didn't know she started that program. It said she graduated from college in 1972, and then shortly after that started the Crestwood field hockey program, which was right around the time Title IX was beginning. So to build something from the ground up and build it into a state power and what it became, her story is an incredible story. And from what I read in the article in the Standard Speaker, she doesn't like to talk about herself a lot. So this was a great award to get her name out there, make people realize all the hard work that she did.
Yeah, I'll let you in on a little secret is I didn't really get in touch with her. I had to go through another person to get in touch with her. Her successor, Patsy Moratori, was able to put me in touch with her, and she said the coach will call you and that Mrs. Gemski will call you. That's how much respect that her former players and assistant coaches have for her. They still call her Mrs. Gemski. So I was waiting for a call back from Mrs. Gemski, and she finally called me back. She was a little bit hesitant at first to accept the award. Then when I explained what it was about and for her contributions, not only to her sport but to sports in general in the greater Hazelton, Wilkes-Barre, Wyoming Valley, and you look how big field hockey has become, and that's a lot of, she gets a lot of credit for that because like I said, it's starting the sport from the ground up. Yeah, you've had outstanding coaches, the George Currys, Bruce Liebs in this area, John Quinn's, but no, they walked into a program that was already established. She started it from the ground up. The only other person I could think of comparably maybe in this region is Joe Cesari of North Schuylkill Wrestling Program. Started that from the ground up, didn't know much about the sport, started to learn about it and became ultra successful in it. And same way with Alveda Gemski. She's a tribute, and what a nice woman. She was so appreciative of the award, and she is definitely a pioneer in this area. And if you look at where Wyoming Valley Conference field hockey is now and how many of these players have gone on not only to the college level but big time college level, they've played for national championships, they've gone to the Olympics, and that's a big feather in her cap.
I have enjoyed a wonderful lifetime journey in field hockey with the support of fellow coaches and athletes who brought the necessary dedication for success. All of them will remain in my heart forever. Thank you for including me in your celebration tonight. Thank you.
Of course, Title IX made sure that there was no discrimination based on sex in education programs or activities that get federal money. Dave, what's crazy for me is I was born in 1984, so I don't remember a world before Title IX, and I can't imagine what it would be like before that. But I guess it was a much different world. It wasn't like what we do now where we're covering women's sports, girls' sports all the time. It was a much different world.
Even you go back to the Standard Speakers Day, I was working part-time in the mid-'80s when you were born, and that's when like the girls' sports started to be covered more. They got more exposure around that time, especially in this area. The games used to be played after school. Maybe a parent or two would have been able to go to the game. Here after the work of people like Alveda Gemski, Elsie Tolan at Marion, another person who started a program and made it into a state power. They kind of set the stage, and then you had people like Cal Ferrari at West Hazelton, Jane Dunn at Hazelton, and then Robbie Wallace. Eventually, Robbie Wallace, took that torch and ran with it. And then the girls players. I don't want to name one because if I name one, you're going to forget a bunch of them. But they were the trailblazers. There's a lot of players that came, and it was around that time when Title IX took effect that starting from the early 70s, and the Hazelton High teams of Jane Dunn and basketball, and the softball teams at West Hazelton. Bishop Hafey had some outstanding teams too. Freeland High had some outstanding teams, and Joe Barletta, who just was honored to retire. He had a lot to do with the emergence of girls sports in the area. There's a lot of people who are a part of that, but you go back to the early 70s when it all started, and people wouldn't realize how little the exposure that the girls' sports got, female sports got, and it's to the people like the Billie Jean Kings on the national level, and other players, the Nancy Lieberman Kleins, and all those other people, and then You see the success of like a Yukon basketball now, or Pat Summitt at Tennessee in basketball now too, and the Olympic style sports, how they've all grown exponentially since the early 70s. But there's still a lot more work to be done. You just talk about the equal pay now for women athletes now too. They just receive that too, and it's about time, because as a father of two female athletes turned coaches, I'm just happy to see that they're going to be rewarded for all their hard work through the years.
Yeah, you mentioned equal pay for the United States women's soccer team. I mean, their run to the World Cup titles and that, and just the attention that they got. Going through the Standard Speaker, we mentioned that Bill Crooks Memorial Award. How big was he also? Maybe some of the past Standard Speaker people in highlighting and saying, hey, let's cover women's athletics and let's get them in the paper. Let's move on this.
Bill came onto the scene in the mid '80s, and more and more girls games were covered. The district playoff games were played in the evening in big time arenas like Marts Hall in Pottsville, or in the Allentown area, the Lehigh Valley, and that's where the girls' sports. And then once you had those games played, then you had younger girls want to be like, they had idols and role models to follow too, and that's how my girls followed. They were able to follow females that set the stage for them.
Now, you mentioned a name with Marion Catholic High School. Was that in volleyball, establishing the volleyball program, or was that girls basketball?
Girls basketball. You had Nikki Hackenberg. She was the one that got that program really, really revved up in volleyball, but Elsie Tolan in basketball. And they knocked on the door so many times. They had so many outstanding teams. Would run into a tough team in the late 70s or early 80s before, I believe it was 1984, when they won a state championship, and that kind of set the stage. Before that, you had the Pottsville and the TODs going outside the area. In Lehigh Valley, they always had outstanding teams, and Marion, Elsie Tolan's teams would run into a Susquehanna Township from suburban Harrisburg, and then one year Tamaqua won a state title in the late 70s, and that set the stage more for Tamaqua and, like I said, West Hazelton. Hazelton had some outstanding teams under Joe Barlett and then Joe Gavio, and then leading into the emergence of the central high schools, and it's just it's a treat to watch girls get that same attention that boys get.
Now, it's easy for us to take for granted now a Marion volleyball program or a Hazelton Area High School softball program, but we hear it all the time when you hear athletes say, oh yeah, we want to keep up the progress that this program has had, the tradition, and it's been set down because of all these players and coaches that have come before them, that now we don't even think of it, give it a second thought, that it's just there, and it's very successful. Dave, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it. Sports on SSPTV News is brought to you by the Lehigh Valley Health Network.